Hi, Andreas, and thank you very much for sitting down with me for this interview. Let's start by introducing you to the Sedition audience. Would you like to kick us off and just tell a little bit about who you are, what you do, and your art?
Yeah, hi. My name is Andreas Lutz. I'm a visual artist in Berlin, based in Berlin, and also in Rome since 2 years. I work mainly in the field of kinetic sculptures, but also recently in digital art again, which I didn't do for quite a few years, but right now I return somehow to this domain. So yeah, so that's like what I'm working in.
Thank you, Andreas. Would you tell a little bit about the artworks that you already have on Sedition that you currently have, how you created them, what inspired you to create them?
We have two, or I have two collection on Sedition right now. One is comes from all the work. So I have this physical sculpture called Soft Takeover, and it's about the language of the machine, always like the transformation of how machines and humans talk to each other. And I'm really interested in all this semiotic science, like the background of the language, so to say. So, and the video works on Sedition is like, let's say, like the theoretical background of this sculpture. So like the language which I conceived for the sculptures, you can see in this video works. So that was like the interesting to show also this side, not only because the visitor usually in the installation setting, they see only the sculpture, but they don't see, the process behind it. So for me, it was a good opportunity to also show this side. And the other one, the Axiom Inverse collection, comes from a live performance called Swerve to Form, what I did like 4 years ago, and which is like a representation of this performance. I performed a lot, like in, for example, at IZEA in Colombia, in Brazil. So I showed it all around the world, and now finally I have new performances. It's a bit recent, but then I thought it's a good way to show it also on Sedition now.
Thank you very much, Andreas. So you're about to release a new collection on Sedition called Demon, consisting of 3 artworks: Demon Process, Demon Disrupt, and Demon Fragment. Could you tell a little bit about that?
Demon is, as I just said, as well, a bit similar to the Axiom Inverse work. So Demon comes from a really physical work, from a light installation called Demon LED, and Demon, just Demon, so which were both, or like the first were a space installation and the other one is a light installation. And Demon is a collaborative work together with Hansi Raber, like a long-term collaborator from me from Linz in Austria. So we were really interested in a way, to really critically see technology, because somehow you always feel that everything runs really smoothly and perfect, and which it does with Demon, but then humanity or human can be seen as an intruder sometimes. So there are like sequence in this work, Demon, where everything runs really rationally, really beautiful, really technologically, you could say. But then, because coming from a live installation, there was always like the moment of capturing people when they would walk through the installation. And then the whole installation, or like the whole movements, the whole setting would be disturbed somehow. So we were questioning a little bit critically that, in that time, so you have to consider that this work was 4 or 5 years old, and people generally saw on technology like that's the holy grail. So everything is better with technology, but we were making not fun, but looked on it like, okay, what does it mean? Then it's like just really technology running everything, and the human persons are just like only disturbing everything. So this is like a bit the conceptual background from this installation.
You have been obviously numerous exhibitions and different collections. But is there any particularly memorable projects and exhibitions or residencies that you would regard as big milestones for you or particular achievements?
Well, yes. So I think like the most memorable situations, because mainly I start again to work really more in digital art, but I was mainly working the last 5 years for sculptures and like really space installations or settings in spaces. And always working with this kinetic sculpture, so there was always movement involved, and then like this kind of language, what an abstract machine sets out in a space. And for me, always like the most interesting part of when interacting with the audience or talking with the audience, how everybody sees something different in the artwork. So it's really always interesting that you for yourself have a certain idea what you want to do or what you want to express with the sculpture, but then really everybody else has like really their or her own idea or what the sculpture can also be. And that for me is always like the most interesting part to ask the audience, you know, what, or like not to ask, but to listen what this artwork expresses for them or what it's about. So it's really interesting. For example, this I showed a work from me called Hypergradient a few years ago in Sao Paulo, and it deals also, it's like really abstract, subtle work, and it deals also with this expression of language in an abstract way. And then like I guess it was a woman was in front of the installation and really was there for a bit, but then she realized I was the artist, so I was there. And then she asked me, but you know, if this is like the kind of language this machine has, this abstract machine, so then, you know, if you think about it, then these abstract machines also, when they have their own language, then they need their own law, they need their own system of culture, they need their own songs. And obviously that's like an idea I was always thinking about too, but it's really interesting to see that sometimes, not always, but sometimes your artwork can influence or just like make people think about something. That I think that's like, yeah, that's like the most you can get out of it, I think.
The next question I have is, how do you perceive the future of art? What do you think the future of art is going to be?
Yeah, well, I think the obvious answer, if you ask, you know, now we're recording this January 2023, and everybody in the artwork talks about NFTs and metaverse. And obviously that's now the main trend where a lot of money goes into, a lot of people invested there. So that means for sure it's going to be a lot of work's going to be happen in this space, in the metaverse space. But I think generally, if you see the history of art, or like mainly what it's about, it's like expressing an idea, and that's really people shouldn't forget about this, that it's not so much about the medium. So it's mainly, and this is something which didn't change the last 2,000 years or 8,000 years maybe since the beginning of humanity, that it's just a simple idea or what you make up in your mind, in your head, and no AI or ChatGPT or whatever will do this in the near future for you. So, and that's what I find interesting still. So that's for me, my art is like my expression. So it's like a kind of communication I envision in my head or what I think about, but then I put this as a physical communication in the middle of a space. So, and I think that's, you know, like the simple idea, it's what I think won't change. I can't see how this can change. So the future is always bright, obviously, but yeah, it's not fixed to any technological or input like this zeitgeist inputs. I don't believe in this so much.
Okay, great. Well, a bit to elaborate on the previous question, you've of course touched the NFTs, and of course now in 2023, when we look at 21 and 22, NFTs have been a very hot topic, and pretty much every artist has been talking about NFTs. And I think it's interesting that NFTs either cause people to be vehemently for them, vehemently opposed to them, but there are so many opinions about them. If some people think they're hurting artists, some people think they're helping artists. And I'm very interested where you fall on this one. Yeah. What do you just in general think about NFTs? Do you think they are good for artists, bad for artists? What's your opinion on the subject?
Well, so now what I said before, maybe you could have the idea that I'm critical. Obviously, it's never bad to be critical, but also obviously I see the advantages what the NFT can have, like this idea of, what you did in Sedition anyway, like since the beginning, but it was just not called NFTs in that way, but like, it's about ownership, I guess, and that's generally, obviously, it was always that's always an important thing. If you think about like the commercial art market, then that's for me. It's like it doesn't have so much to do with the art itself or artwork itself, because I feel people mistake NFT as like a kind of art. I think it's like a way to sell your art, or like which was always the case, like as an artist you're interested in selling your artworks because you need to make a living of it. So, and I think this is like obviously an interesting way to get to reach new audiences. And obviously, it's like the traditional art market is really fixed to this world of galleries and maybe auction houses. And obviously the NFT movement, I wouldn't say it's like it makes everything more equal or more free, but for sure it's a tool to reach new audiences. So I would say it like this. So it's just like a good new tool to reach new audiences, which we see how it will be in 5 years.
Nice, indeed, we'll see. Now it's still a very fresh tech. All right, so the final question that I have is, so Andreas, what are you working on lately, and what makes you excited about the future? Any exciting new projects you'd like to share?
Yeah, as I said before, so now really working the last 5-6 years mainly in physical sculptures, because coming from really a digital background, at some point I was really bored of only doing digital stuff, and for me this was only fixed to screens. So I had to go really to somewhere else and to a different place and start doing works from there. But now since 1-2 years I really started returning back to digital works also. And this came really with the change to AI and what is possible with machine learning, for example. So I really spent the last year on a new work, like it's a whole bunch of works in the realm of machine learning and artificial intelligence by AI, who I trained with all the characters which are in the Unicode system, and create like a sort of a meta language with this. So from the content-wise, it's the same what I was always working with, but now I bring it back in a way into the digital era, and I can rebuild these semiotic systems, what I always were more a conceptual approach. I have now as a practical, really as an application, so to say, and I can use these models I get from this AI also to create the movements from the physical works, but also I create new works like video works and sculptures from this. So it's really interesting somehow. Feels like I come back from where I left like a few years ago, but it feels like it's like everything is still connected together.
Perfect. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks. Thank you. Thanks.